Hey guys, so I just finished watching Wonder Woman 1984. I just streamed it via iTunes and I watched it in Dolby Vision, and yeah, it looked really good. The buffering rate was fine, the image was crystal clear, the 4K resolution, the HDR. It was a good looking film. So for streaming fans out there, yeah, it looked okay. Normally I buy these films on Blu-ray 4K and collect them that way. I've got most of the DC, well, I've got all the DC movies. And yeah, they scrub up really well in 4K. They look beautiful. So the movie was released theatrically here in Australia, so you had no other way of going to see it. But I did get an early release on iTunes just yesterday, I think. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna stream it and watch it. So I actually purchased it because it was $29.99 to rent or $35 to own. So I thought, for the sake of $5, I decided to purchase it. So now it's in my collection forever. And am I happy about that? I don't necessarily know right now, because I enjoyed the film. It was okay, but nowhere near as good as the original Wonder Woman, which came out a couple years ago. That one just kind of captured lightning in a bottle for me. It was magical, it was fun, and if I had to compare it to any other superhero film, Superman the movie, definitely, because Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman was great casting. She's not a fantastic actress, and I'll go into that a little bit more in this one, but she embodies the role. And that first cinematic adaptation of a Wonder Woman story on the big screen just really kind of captured my heart, and I loved it. It was great from beginning to end. It was a fantastic story delivered to us by Patty Jenkins. And yeah, we've finally got a sequel, Wonder Woman 1984, which I thought was a little bit of a weird title. And in retrospect, having just literally turned the movie off 5 minutes ago, the time period isn't really a thing at all. It doesn't really matter. I think Diana drops the line of, you know, it's 1984 one time in the movie, but apart from that, you're not really going to get a sense of that time period. There's not a great use of music. The wardrobe, they poke fun at that a little bit sometimes throughout the course of the film, but the whole time period itself isn't really exploited and explored and cherished like Stranger Things, for instance, which really kind of enjoys and has fun with that 1980s nostalgia. But yeah, this film could have been in the 70s or in the 90s. It wouldn't really mattered. I didn't really get a sense of the time period. Much like Captain Marvel from the MCU, yeah, I didn't really feel the 90s vibe from that one either. So what do I think about the movie? Yeah, overall, and I probably will spoil it here because I'm assuming that everyone's watched it right now. It's not as good as that first one, but it's okay if you just kind of go in with no expectations. I found it better than Justice League, at least, definitely. But yeah, it's still definitely not one of the best films in the franchise. Now, I'm sitting here in my Batman vs. Superman t-shirt. I thought, you know, DCU, I'm going to wear the shirt and get into the movie. But yeah, the DCU definitely is hit or miss. It really is. Now, the cast is good. Like I said, Gal Gadot embodies the role, but she's not a strong performer. She's not a great actress, and that's fine. We've got a lot of famous actors out there that aren't necessarily brilliant in what they do, but they've got a lot of charisma, and I think Gal Gadot has got some charisma. But in regards to emotional range, she's better than me, but she's not believable. I didn't kind of get captured in the moment in this film. But having said that, in Wonder Woman, the first film, I was in love with her. I thought she was fantastic. So the cast list also includes Chris Pine back as Steve Trevor, Kristen Wiig as Barbara Minerva, and Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord. They're the main four. We also have Robin Wright and Connie Nielsen returning from the first one. So yeah, what did I think? So like I said, if you just want to stream the film, it looks fantastic. I'm sure the 4K will look even better. I see a lot of disparity and reviews saying that streaming isn't quite up to standard for a physical media yet. So I just watched it on my big 4K OLED LG TV, and yeah, it looked pretty. It was really nice. There was a little bit of buffering every now and then, but the picture quality was overall amazing. Dolby Vision, top notch, and the speakers were working overtime as well, so there was good bass and a lot of oomph, and the music sounded great too. So for those of you wanting to know about streaming and the quality, yeah, it was good. But for the movie itself, and let's kind of go into spoiler territory a little bit here, because I didn't know what to expect going into this one. Like I said, I love that first film so much. I mean, Wonder Woman, when did the first one come out? Let me look at the date. So Wonder Woman came out in 2017 and set in World War One, and that was really cool. So I think this had a bit of trouble getting released because of COVID and stuff, so I think it was ready last year. but it finally graced our screens, both streaming and theatrical in the US, and theatrical here only, but now it's available on iTunes. So yeah, I like I said, I didn't know what to expect going in, but the story is basically very magic centric, which is fine, because if you kind of go back to the comic books of that period, they were very silly, over the top, and a lot of fantasy and magic stuff was prevalent in the storytelling. I mean, the superheroes, right? So of course that's going to happen sometimes. But whereas I found the first film was kind of grounded in a little bit of reality, the second one really kind of went to town with the silliness. So it's about a crystal, a dreamstone, which for the most part of this film I thought was kryptonite. I thought there was going to be like a Superman tie-in of some sort, but apparently it wasn't related to kryptonite at all. It was a dreamstone, and it basically gives people a wish, and when they make that wish they also have to pay a price. So yeah, spoiler territory here. Diana obviously wishes for Steve Trevor to be back, and the toll she pays is losing her powers. So this movie kind of was very similar to Superman 2 in that regard, where Clark Kent lost his powers because of love. He loved Lois in that one, so he had to sacrifice his abilities to be with her. He had to be a human. So in this one, Diana wished for Steve Trevor back, and the price was losing her abilities. And Pedro Pascal, the bad guy, who was he playing? He was playing Maxwell Lord, who is a character in the DC universe and in the comic books. I'm not really familiar with him too much, but he basically takes the power of this stone, and then he is like the one granting wishes to everybody and getting more power. And it kind of ends with the world just on the brink of nuclear destruction, chaos. It's just anarchy. Everybody's wishing for something and paying horrible tolls, so the world's falling to bits. It's a mess. And Kristen Wiig as Barbara Minerva, who becomes Cheetah. Yeah, she wished to be more stronger and confident and more like Diana, and the price she ended up paying was her humanity and her niceness, so she became a nasty character. And going into this, Kristen Wiig was my one nervous point. She's a comedic actress, and I'm not necessarily a fan of hers. I mean, she's fine, but I haven't really gone out of my way to watch her movies. So when I heard she was cast as Cheetah, as the bad guy essentially for this film, I wasn't really too sure if she could pull it off. But I'm happy to say she was good in the role. She had some amazing dramatic moments. She looked great, and she handled the drama well. I thought she was really cool. So going from that goofy kind of comedic actress at the beginning of the film, and she reminded me a lot of Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns, actually. The goofy kind of downtrodden character who becomes strong and a villain by the end of it. Now, when the movie opens up, yeah, I got this is not another Superman reference, Superman 3, the opening of Superman 3. If you know that one, very comedic. Superman's just flying around saving people, but it's just very comedic. This one I found was kind of in the same vein, with a couple of criminals trying to rob a bank and then making their getaway in a mall, and then it's just comedic hijinks. And then Wonder Woman turns up to save the day. But I did notice in this film, when she was going to the mall to take on the bad guy, she used her magic lasso. Or wasn't it her tiara? She flung the tiara and took out all the security cameras. So in this universe, this world, Wonder Woman turned up again in Batman vs. Superman, right? In 2000 and something. So the world didn't really know about her. So the events of this film are pretty much forgotten by everybody, right? Which is weird, I think. I think that's what happened, because when the film ends and the wishes have all been reverted, I was assuming that people's memories would be wiped and they'll just go back to normal everyday life. But there seems to be recollection. Like, people seem to recall the things and the events that had happened through the course of this movie, and Wonder Woman was pretty out there for a lot of people. So yeah, worldwide event. I guess there are arguments that she was low-key enough not to be remembered 20, 30 years later in the current DCU. But I thought it was a nice little nod that she took out the security cameras, so there'd be very little footage of her doing her thing. Now, the cast was good for the most part. So the film opened up once again on Paradise Island, and it was basically Amazon Olympics, and it was young Diana kind of proving her worth against the older ladies and basically essentially winning. But she had to have a bit of a life lesson in that one, because she ended up cheating. She fell off her horse and she had to take a shortcut, and she was winning, but who was it? It was Robin Wright. Robin Wright's character stopped her from winning and said, you know what, you cheated. So it's all about, and this is the theme of the film, you're not necessarily always going to get what you want, but you got to be okay with that and get it when you deserve it and work hard for it. So having Steve Trevor come back as a wish later on, ultimately to defeat the bad guy, you have to renounce your wish. So she had to give up the one thing that she loved the most to save the day. So kind of not having what you wanted, which I thought was fine. But it was in that moment of the film when she was saying goodbye to Steve Trevor, when she was about to renounce her wish and he was going to be gone again, because he is dead. He's dead. He came back from, and it's alluded to be heaven, I think. He kind of mentions he knows he was somewhere else. She has to make that sacrifice, and she was crying and she was giving the performance, but it didn't really suck me in. I didn't feel it. So what should have been the emotional epicenter of this film kind of fell a little bit flat, and that's kind of what I'm talking about when I go on about Gal Gadot not being the strongest performer. I mean, she definitely improves from film to film. She's got the charisma and she looks great as Wonder Woman. I love her in the role, but that emotional weight and that emotional gravitas, I don't think she's quite nailed yet. Now, Chris Pine, love him. It was very cool seeing him beat up on the Mandalorian in this one. He's a very charismatic actor and I love him in everything. But when I was seeing those trailers, and they really should have kept that secret from us, that would have been great, having him just turn up and not be aware of it. But when we were seeing those trailers of Steve Trevor being back, it was like, okay, how and why? Is it his grandson? There's some kind of time travel element. But yeah, all about wishes. So Kristen Wiig I've already covered, she was great. And Pedro Pascal. Now, Pedro Pascal is currently riding a wave of success as the Mandalorian. He's carrying the weight of the Star Wars franchise on his shoulders right now. He's a fantastic actor, and it was really fun to see him in this one, having a really over-the-top, grandiose performance. He was very cool. He's very charismatic, and he plays a great bad guy. But like I said, this film was very much comic-heavy, and I know it's ironic, it's a comic book film, but it wasn't really any real weight to it. It was all very over the top and silly for the most part, and you really do have to have a sense of disbelief. Now, I know I'm talking about superhero films, but yeah, like I said, that first one was kind of grounded, and this one was just like, nah, balls to the wall, let's just go nuts with it. So there were some great moments in the film, one of them being the moment that Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, learned how to fly. Now, I've been a fan of Wonder Woman for years, read her in the comic books, watched the old TV series with Linda Carter. Wonder Woman really didn't fly much. Seems to be a new thing. But her and Steve Trevor had a conversation in this one, because we get the invisible jet. So apparently Diana can make things invisible just by touch. So she made the jet invisible, which was cool. But he was talking to her about being a pirate. But he was talking about, almost said a pirate, but he was talking to her about being a pilot. And she said, like, flying is just one thing that she could never really understand about humanity. And he said, it's just like the wind, you just learn to ride it. So after she renounces her wish, Steve Trevor is now gone again. And she just leaps up. She does a lot of jumping. The magic lasso just pulling her, and she's using like a slingshot for the most part of the movie and just flying around doing it that way, like massive jumping. She goes up above the clouds, and then she recalls what he said to her about the riding the wind, and that's when she learns to fly. Now, I thought that was a really nice moment. It was very cool. It was great to see Wonder Woman flying, and of course the special effects were incredible. But just thinking to the movies we've seen now, there's never been any real reference to Wonder Woman flying before, right? So she learned how to fly in this one, but we never see her fly again in the new ones that I recall, have we? Plot hole? Is that a thing? Okay. But like I said, yeah, we had the invisible jet. So if you recall, or if you've ever watched the Linda Carter TV series, she got around in an invisible jet. It was like made of glass, and you just see Linda Carter sitting inside and flying the jet. So it was very campy, and it was in the comics as well. So she mentioned that somebody had taught her how to make things invisible. So she kind of just touched the cockpit and the plane went invisible because they're being pursued. Radar, technology, they could be found. So yeah, she can do that, which I found to be interesting. Could she do that before? Is that a thing? I don't know my Wonder Woman lore, man, honestly. And the fight scene at the end between Kristen Wiig and Gal Gadot, the cheetah, and Wonder Woman was cool. So Wonder Woman's big battle is in this weird gold armor, which you've seen in the trailer. Apparently that belonged to an Amazonian warrior back in the day who, when the Amazons were going to Paradise Island, they were escaping mankind. So they had to leave one fierce warrior behind in this amazing armor. Like, all the Amazons contributed something from their own armor to make this impenetrable super armor that she wore to fight off men while all the Amazons made their escape. And then that warrior vanished. So, another spoiler alert, we do see that warrior turn up at the very end of this film in like a 2-second cameo, and it's Linda Carter, the original Wonder Woman. So I thought that was a nice nod. I was kind of anticipating her turning up through the whole film, to be honest, because they talked about this other warrior and that is scene with her in a close-up of her eyes, and I was straight away, that's Linda Carter, the original Wonder Woman. So they did that. They did that. I'm just going through the cast list. I'm just checking they haven't got it actually listed there. They haven't spoiled it. So, Wonder Woman 1984. It was okay. It wasn't great. It was a fine afternoon in. 2.5 hours long. So these DC movies are epic in length. They don't need to be. I mean, we're getting Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League in March, coming to HBO Max, and I'm hoping we get that here in some streaming format in Australia as well. I think maybe Binge. He's recently come out and said that it's going to be like a 4-hour version of the film. So, for whatever reason, these movies are just getting longer and longer. I mean, Marvel, they keep their movies relatively 2 hours, except of course if you're an Avengers film, then 2+ hours, 3 hours, but that's fine because it's the Avengers. But pretty much every film out of DC, apart from Suicide Squad and Shazam, are 2+ hours long. So they really could cut a little bit out of it and make it a bit more streamlined. It could have been better, it could have been improved, but yeah, what we got was okay entertainment. I didn't love it. I was hoping I would, because that first one, Patty Jenkins just smashed it out of the park. But this second one, out of 10, I'd give it a solid 7, whereas that first one I'd give 9.5 easily. So where does it rank in the rest of the DC movies? Well, it's not at the top. It's not at the top. Those movies for me are very hit and miss. Like, I enjoy them and they've got great elements. But for me, the first Wonder Woman was number 1. And then Man of Steel. And then Batman vs. Superman, which I've enjoyed more upon repeat viewings. Shazam. Aquaman. And then Suicide Squad. And then probably this one. This one's above Suicide Squad, because Suicide Squad wasn't very good at all. But yeah, do I want to see more? Sure, I'm keen for more DC movies. I really think they're getting away from the whole big universe thing where everything's related to each other and connected. They kind of learned and decided to make the movies more about, one-on-one stories. And I guess that's why we've gone back in time with Wonder Woman, because they could just tell a standalone film that has no real bearing on the ones before or after. So if they're going to do that and just deliver great movies, then I'm down for it. I know the connective tissue of having like a universe can be kind of hard to maintain. A lot of directors come in and they want to do their own vision, their own thing, but they've got to have that connective tissue and kind of bow to the demands of the story that's already in place. It can be hard. Marvel's doing it well, but yeah, it's very cookie cutter. If DC wants to do things a little bit more finessed, I'm okay with it too. I honestly am. I like the DC universe. I do. The casting has been amazing so far, and what they do next, I'm excited to see. We just got to get through Justice League one more time, and then after that, who knows what's going to happen. But Wonder Woman 1984 is now available on iTunes and streaming. It'll be on 4K Blu-ray in a couple of months, I'm sure. Would I buy it again? I'm honestly not sure. I've got the whole collection, all the DCU movies. I'm really thinking twice about adding this one to the collection. I've got it on digital. I can just stream what I want. But will I spend another $30-40 on the disc? That's something I need to think about, honestly. So please leave me your thoughts down below, discuss, comments, and all that kind of stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.